We are intending to turn this platform into a scene from the outdoors. It's going to be a food plot. There's going to be live trees on the stage. There's going to be real leaves. There's going to be a beautiful backdrop that Brenda's working on. And over here, about 2/3 of the way over, is going to be a gigantic oak tree with a ladder stand in it. And the keynote speaker is going to come through the side door, climb a ladder stand, and he's going to make a presentation from that ladder stand. And at the end of his presentation, the plans is for that tree to very slowly rotate on that little circular thing that we do, you know, with the cross it turns around. And on the back side of that big oak tree is going to be a hand-carved wooden cross that we're going to present to the group that's going to be in here. And at that point in time, we're going to have an altar call. We didn't do that last year. That's part of the pastor's vision for where he wants to take Sportsman's Fest. We're going to do some fun food and fellowship, but we're really trying to make this a lot more of a ministry. And we believe we've got some really good ideas. We've got some great people that are going to help us that's going to work on it. And we really think we can pull this thing together and make it much more of a ministry than we did last year. It was a learning curve last year. The guy that's going to come in and do that is a man by the name of Dr. Marty Brunson. Had a chance to meet him 3 years ago. At that point in time, I told you a little while ago, I was praying to be involved in a ministry. I'd been just for a brief time involved in a ministry with the Wild Turkey Federation called Wheeling Sportsman. And that's where some guides took some paraplegic or some crippled kids or adults, and we would take them turkey hunting. That kind of fizzled out in Davis County. The chapter actually disbanded and left. So I was looking for someplace else to kind of get tied in. And I actually called the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Everybody hear of Make-A-Wish? Okay. Nationally known foundation. Big foundation. Big corporation, actually. I said, hey, I'm looking to be a guide for hunters. And he said, oh, we don't do that anymore. I said, what? Make-A-Wish doesn't give trips to kids if that's their wish of a lifetime? No, we don't do that anymore. But here's a place where you can go. And she gave me 2 different organizations. One of them was Catch a Dream. And that was the first place I called. And this guy picks up the phone. Hi, I'm Marty. I said, hey, I'm Chuck Riggenbach from Southern Iowa, yada, yada, yada. I'm thinking about, I'd like to become part of a ministry, okay, that caters to the outdoor. He said, hey, you're just the kind of guy we're looking for. Started talking to this guy named Marty. And I called there like 5 or 6 different times over the course of about 2 months, getting information, going on their website. And by just pure chance, I found out later, he was the one that picked up the phone. Can I tell you, for that first 2 months, I thought he was a receptionist. I thought they had a male receptionist because he just picked up, hi, I'm Marty with Catch a Dream. I said, hi, Marty. And away we would go. And he was directing me through all this stuff. And I finally got deep enough into it that they asked me to go into training, and they sent me this little email. And down at the bottom of it, in real small print, was Executive Director of Catch a Dream, Dr. Martin Brunson. And it just dawned on me, dude, Marty. So I called back down. I said, hey. And then a woman picked up. Her name's Peggy. And Peggy picked up. I said, hi, Peggy, I'm Chuck. I said, is Marty around? Oh, yeah. So flipped me over to him, and I said, this email you sent me, it says Dr. Martin Brunson. I said, who's that? He said, that's me. I'd been talking to the executive director of Catch a Dream for 2 months, had no clue who this man was. I say that so that I can give you guys a sense that this is not somebody who sits in an ivory tower somewhere. This is just a good old guy that has a love for Jesus, has a love for kids. And can I tell you, he instantly had me as a fan then. Long story short, I went through the training to become what is called a host. And a host is nothing more than a guy or a girl, we got women hosts, that goes along with children. Let me back up a little bit here now that I told you about Dr. Brunson. Here's what Catch a Dream is. In the year 2000, the Make-A-Wish Foundation sent a little boy to Alaska. Now remember, I just said Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish sent a little boy on a bear hunt to Alaska with a film crew, okay? Filmed this kid shooting a bear. Came back to the States here and started publicizing it all over in a promo for Make-A-Wish. The anti-hunters and PETA got a hold of that film and absolutely crucified Make-A-Wish. threatened him with all kind of lawsuits, went through all kind of crazy stuff. Long story short, the board of directors of Make-A-Wish convened a very quick meeting and instantly in 30 seconds had a new derivative that never again would Make-A-Wish ever send any kid on anything other than Disney World or see somebody fancy or whatever. If it had to do anything with hunting, fishing, guns, bows, knives, anything of a weapon, it was instantly barred from being part of the Make-A-Wish platform, for lack of a better word. At that time, there was a man down in Mississippi, Starkville, Mississippi. His name was Bruce Brady. He was an outdoorsman. He actually made his living in the outdoors. He was a sculptor. He wrote, painted, did a little bit of everything. The man was dying of cancer. But he had a big heart for God. And when he found out that Make-A-Wish had made this directive that they was never going to take another kid, knowing full well that some of the most special times in his life was when he was in the outdoors experiencing what God had made, he thought that was a tragedy. And he sat down with his wife and his son, who happened to be a Baptist minister, and he said, that's wrong. Somewhere along the line, somebody needs to fix that. Some organization needs to step up and create an organization that if a critically ill child wants to go on a hunting trip as their once-in-a-lifetime last chance to do anything special, they ought to have that ability to do it, especially if it's God-backed, if it's faith-driven. Long story short, that man passed away before Catch a Dream ever got started, but the vision was planted in his son and in his wife, okay? And his son and his wife, Peggy, got together, and they are the ones that formed, in a little bitty room on the Mississippi State University, a foundation called the Catch a Dream Foundation. And at that point in time is when Dr. Brunson got involved and they started the board and the whole 9 yards. I wanted to have some slides here and we don't have them, so you're going to have to help me. Let me walk through this a little bit here. Catch a Dream's main goal, full focus, is Christ first, hunting and fishing second. It's a faith-based, run on biblical principle foundation. They have a very small criteria. A child has to be under the age of 19. They don't have to be dying, but they have to be critically ill or have been critically ill. For instance, I had a chance to go on an elk hunt 2 years ago with a young man that was 17. He'd been diagnosed at 13 with cancer. Had went through all the treatment, and he was actually cancer-free when he went on the hunt. We went to Wyoming on an elk hunt. But the criteria is under the age of 19, critically ill, and quite frankly, some of them are dying. I won't deny that. We give them as close to their wish. When I say we, Catch a Dream gives them as close to their wish as we can possibly make it, depending on how sick the child is. I'll give you a for instance. We had one child in a wheelchair that had a dream of going elk hunting in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. I don't know if anybody in here, I'm sure there's some guys been elk hunting out there. Can I tell you, short of God coming down and physically carrying that girl up the mountain, there was no way for Catch a Dream to do that. So we are limited a little bit on what we are able to do. But can I tell you, I was personally with that child 3 weeks ago. I watched her kill a 12-point buck that scored a little over 160 down at Little Flat Creek in Missouri. And can I tell you, the look on her face, I'm guessing, was just as good as it would have been if she'd have been in a mountain trying to kill an elk. They don't think Katie's going to make it till Thanksgiving. It was a rush job to get her there, okay? She couldn't even hold the gun. I wish I had the pictures again. What I'm saying up here is not going to give it credit, but since she couldn't hold a gun, like many children that Catch a Dream takes hunting that are either crippled or so weak that they can't do it, or a doctor, we've had some children that the doctor says, you know what, they can't take the shock of a gun. You can't let them shoot the gun. So we have a very special gun. We've actually got 2 or 3 of them, but we've got a very special gun that's got a digital telescope, okay, with a port on it, Marty. The port runs over to a monitor, okay? So Dr. Brunson looks through the scope, and the crosshairs of the scope show up on this monitor, and what the scope's looking at shows up on this monitor. And there's a little gadget